It's happening.
Wait, I'm not ready.
But you finished this game like 2 weeks ago. How could you not be ready? Welcome to Tri-Friend Heroes, a Legend of Zelda podcast. I'm Ellen.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Cosm.
Happy New Year, chums!
Whoa!
We're definitely not recording this like 3 months ago. We definitely totally made it. And
This is live. This is a live show. Come on.
I hope everybody had a good end of the year. Future us. And future you listening. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Why am I breaking the fourth wall? It's supposed to be a professional podcast.
You can professionally break the fourth wall.
Yeah, that's true. I can't, but one can. Today we're discussing The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap.
Oh.
Or is it just Minish Cap? Did I write that wrong? I don't know.
No, it's the.
Right. They're always the. Except for Twilight Princess. It's not the Twilight Princess.
It's not the Skyward Sword.
Because it's a double meaning title. Spoilers.
Listen, the Minish Cap. That's what we're talking about today. I should also keep this on track since we've gotten like 1 minute, not even 1 minute, 2 minutes into our recording. In this game, we shrink and shrink and shrink and become a teeny tiny little picori-sized Link. Sneak around, restore a magical blade to its former glory, as you normally do in Legend of Zelda, and destroy the troublemaking Triforce-seeking demon Vaati.
Not Ganondorf?
Yeah, not Ganon for once. Also, what a weird game.
It's also technically not the Triforce.
It's the Light Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game has like a knockoff sword and a knockoff magical golden power.
It's the Four Sword, which is a sequel to Four Swords. We should have played that first. I didn't realize this was a sequel, otherwise I would have planned it differently. But hey, guess what?
There's not that much story to Four Swords.
No. Well, we'll talk about it later, like 6 to 8 months from now, depending on what time I scheduled it. But yeah, it'll be fun. Anyway, All of Hyrule's Counting on You, this critically acclaimed game that was released in 2004 in Japan and like early 2005 in North America, and sold 1.6 million copies, which is the lowest of all Zelda games.
Wow, really?
But it was high selling at the time, which I read. It was like the top selling lists for a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Is it because it just has the least amount of re-releases besides maybe Ages and Seasons?
It was re-released on the 3DS for people who bought the 3DS early. Apparently there was a thing that I definitely don't remember, even though I had a 3DS. But apparently when they released it, so they released a 3DS and it had a high price, then they lowered the price, and so they created this thing called the 3DS Ambassador Program, where people who bought the 3DS early got like free games, and it was one of the games that was included, so it was ported for that, and it was ported for the Wii U Virtual Console.
Did this kind of sales if it was given for free?
That's a good question. I don't know how many people had 3DSs. It probably wasn't that.
Yeah.
Wasn't in the millions or whatever by then. You know what? I did some sleuthing. Let me tell. Well, first of all, this game was praised for a variety of reasons, though. So it wasn't like it wasn't like Wind Waker where people were kind of like lukewarm. There was a mixed reception. But this game, a lot of people praised it for its music, especially the dungeon gameplay. But a lot of people, the con of the game was that it was too short. So many people thought that was too short. I don't know. But this is what's interesting to me. So it was released after both Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures. So maybe people got the vibe. Like, I think those games were also very, generally speaking, not very well selling.
This list has it coming out as after Four Swords.
Four Swords came out for whatever. And then Four Swords Adventures was March 2004. And this game was November 2004. So it came out in the same year. Slightly later. Yeah.
A good year for Zelda, huh?
Apparently, except this game was low selling, so I don't know. So it's that one. I couldn't find numbers. Four Swords Adventure doesn't have good reporting on the sales numbers.
Four Swords Adventures required you to own a GameCube and 4 Game Boy Advances and 4 Link
Game Boy
cables
Advances
to play.
Details. But it was released after the Nintendo DS. This is, I think, the critical thing. It was, but like you could play it on a DS, so I'm not sure. But yeah, the Nintendo DS was released in 2004/2005. It was around the same time, depending on like in North America or if you're in North America or Japan. And after the PSP, just for the record. So the portable PlayStation or whatever it's called, PSP. I don't know.
PlayStation Portable, I believe.
That's what I thought.
Portable
that would
station
make sense. I don't. The PPS, the portable PlayStation. I'm not a PlayStation person. I'm sorry, internet. Yeah, so apparently that was also released in 2004, late 2004, early 2005. So I don't know. And then I checked the games that were released for the DS at the time, and like so the games that were available at launch were like Spider-Man, Madden 2005. There's a Metroid Prime game. It's Hunter's First Hunt. I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's a sub of Metroid Prime or like, I don't know, whatever. There's a Metroid Prime game. Super Mario 64 DS was one of the like games that was released the same day. December. Tiger Woods PGA Tour. Wow. And then WarioWare didn't come out until February 2005, so that was after. So like, and then the Pokemon games, like whatever, Diamond and Pearl didn't come out for a long time. So I don't know. There weren't a lot of early games, so I don't know why this game sold low. I think it was just a saturated video game market, and I think people were like kind of lukewarm about Wind Waker and Four Swords. So maybe they were like, maybe people were lukewarm about the Game Boy Advance, like it was the end of its life because the DS had just come out.
Yeah, I think even when there's not that many games on a new console, the like end of life games of the previous console don't get a lot of sales.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So I feel like my suspicion is that that's why, because I was like, why? Because this game is great. At least I really enjoyed it. So it seemed kind of weird to have the lowest sales of all of the Zelda games for whatever reason. But yeah, and it hadn't been ported very much, as you said, Kasum. It's not the same as like Legend of Zelda is one of the highest selling, like the original one, but it's been ported over and over and over again.
Plus side, that means if you own a genuine copy, you can sell it for a lot. Because there's not that many in circulation.
Yeah, and there's a lot of counterfeit copies, it seems like. I was trying to buy this on eBay and I found a listing. Yeah, I don't know. I bought mine from a legitimate store and it was like over $100, so I think that I hope it's genuine. It better be. But yeah, the eBay listing that I saw had like 4 cartridges with 4 different labels, and I was like, I'm very suspicious about this.
Yeah, I bought mine loose in like a random GameStop, and I was just like, oh, I've never played this Zelda game, so like I don't think they knew it was counterfeit. They're just like, oh, it works, and put it in their case. So
exactly,
and it works, so
like,
I don't care. I'm not going to sell it to anyone.
Did it have the same content?
Yes, it didn't turn into like a Godzilla game halfway through or something.
Or like a hacked Pokemon game. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. So listen, if you have one and you don't want it, it's very valuable. Highly recommend reselling on eBay or whatever. Anyway, these are the things that I learned. That was my intro. Seamless segue to Kayla's actual story summary. Is where we're going now.
Okay.
Oh wait, one more thing I wanted to say. I guess I forgot. I'm sorry. This was released so the Game Boy Advance was released in 2001. The SP was released in 2003. And those were the last, like, rip to Nintendo naming their consoles with game in the title, because I think those were all the last ones, right? So we're moving out of the game era into the
Game Boy
Game Dash era, Game X, yeah, Game Boy, GameCube era. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, because after this is the Wii, because we're going to play Twilight Princess next.
Yeah.
And then it'll be the DS for handhelds, which will come up after that. So yeah, pour one out for game, quote unquote game.
It's okay, because our parents will still refer to every handheld game as a Game Boy.
As a Game Boy. I mean, I'm down. Tell us the story about what happened in Minish Cap.
Well, Minish Cap is the origin story of Link's hat.
Whoa!
So naturally, we begin with the legend of a previous hatless hero with rather luscious hair who
He's good looking.
He has some serious hair going on.
Yeah.
It's very Legolasy.
His whole vibe is very Legolasy.
So yeah, previous hatless hero with great hair who defended Hyrule from a darkness that threatened to swallow it long ago. He did this with the help of the tiny Minish people, who gifted him a powerful sword and a magical light force, which he used to drive back the encroaching shadows. The sword was then carefully enshrined within the kingdom, and the people of Hyrule, grateful for the help of the Minish, began to hold a festival in their honor each year. The Minish themselves, rarely seen by human eyes, became creatures of legend, including the tale of a door between their realm and Hyrule that opens only once every 100 years. Our story proper begins at one of those 100-year intervals on the day of the festival. The Princess Zelda sneaks out of the castle to visit her friend Link, and the two go into town to attend the festival together. While the two play games and listen to storytellers, they hear some buzz around town about the winner of the annual sword fighting competition, a mysterious stranger dressed all in dark clothes. I said dressed all in black, but it's definitely not black.
It can't possibly be good, because he's mysterious and dressed in dark clothes, which means that's how you know it's bad. I was like, oh, he sounds cool.
Is it Zoro?
Yes.
They head up to the castle to see the award ceremony, where a fine blade is presented as a prize, but the mysterious winner, Vaati, is more interested in the other award, the chance to touch the blade from the Minish legend. Or rather, he's more interested in the ancient chest where the blade is enshrined, and the power he believes is held within. Vaati easily defeats the guards present and shatters the legendary sword, forcing the chest open. But there is no secret power within, only a swarm of ancient monsters that escape to roam the land once more. Vaati seals Zelda in stone, commenting that the power that runs in her family will cause him trouble later, and leaves to continue seeking the magical force he desires. The king, devastated over his daughter's fate, gives Link the task of seeking out the Minish people to help reforge the legendary blade that Vaati shattered in order to break the curse, as the Minish are said to only appear before children. Link sets off right away for the forest where the Minish supposedly still reside, and on his way through these woods, he encounters an odd being who resembles a green hat with a bird's head on the end. This being is being harassed by monsters, and he yells at Link to help him. Once safe, he listens to Link's story, and then claims that they have much in common, as he has also been cursed by Vaati and is seeking a way to break it. He introduces himself as Eslo, and joins Link on his journey. And after a few failed attempts to hop along after him, he plants himself on Link's head, completing the classic stylish ensemble we know so well. The two proceed through the woods, and Eslo's presence immediately proves helpful, as he turns out to be a sorcerer capable of shrinking Link down to Minish size using certain portals in the world, which is the only way they're able to enter the Minish village within the woods. In the village, they meet with the Elder, who explains that 4 mystic elements are required to fully reforge and repower the ancient blade. He tells Link where to find these elements, and then Link is off on his grand adventure. After retrieving 2 of the elements, Link is able to get the base of the sword reforged, and is sent to a place called the Elemental Sanctuary to infuse it with power from the elements. This sanctuary lies within Hyrule Castle, behind a door that only opens once every 100 years. With the power of 2 of the 4 elements within his sword, Link heads back out to seek the rest, but he is soon stopped by Vaati, who reveals that he knows Eslo personally, as he actually used to be Eslo's apprentice. Link escapes the trap Vaati left him in, and then Eslo comes clean with the full story. Eslo and Vaati are in fact both Minish. Eslo was once a renowned sage and craftsman who took Vaati on as an apprentice, but even as a boy, Vaati had been enthralled by the wickedness within the hearts of humans. One day, Vaati stole a powerful creation of Eslo's, a hat that would grant the wishes of its wearer. He wished himself into the form of a dark sorcerer, cursed his master, and left to find the light force told of in legend, seeking to transform himself into a perfect, all-powerful being. Eslo followed Vaati to the human world, hoping to stop him, and then ran into Link. With all that out in the open, the two continue on their journey, retrieving the last 2 elements and bringing them back to the sanctuary. With the power of all 4 elements infusing it, the sword is restored to its original power, the legendary Four Sword. Link is also granted access to a secret chamber, which reveals that the light force Vaati seeks now resides within Princess Zelda. Unfortunately, Vaati was waiting and watching for Link to make it this far, and he learns this truth at the same time. He whisks the princess away to prepare to extract the light force from her, and Link takes off in pursuit. After a difficult chase, Link finds Vaati and interrupts him before he can fully drain that power from Zelda. Vaati uses the power he has gained to transform himself into monstrous, powerful forms, but after a hard-won battle, Link still emerges victorious against Vaati. He uses the Four Swords' power to restore Zelda from stone, and then Eslo, returned to normal with Vaati's defeat, encourages Zelda to use the magical hat left behind by Vaati to heal Hyrule of all the damage done by him. With his mistakes corrected, Eslo returns through the door to the Minish realm, which closes behind him for another 100 years. But first he leaves behind a gift for Link, a familiar green hat.
Yay, hat!
That's the story.
Does this mean that this takes place before any of the other games where he has a hat?
It's one of the early ones. I can't remember where it is in the official.
Because I think Skyward Sword is technically the first.
I think Skyward Sword is the earliest one.
Skyward Sword is supposed to be the earliest, yeah. This is the hero has a hat timeline, right?
Yes. It's very important. Yeah, this says it takes place after Skyward Sword.
Okay.
So I don't know. I guess he lost his hat between the two.
Does he get a hat in Skyward Sword? Because the part that I played, he didn't. I don't remember him having a hat.
He has a hat. It's part of his knight uniform.
Okay.
In the sky school.
I see. Minish Cap was really fun though, and it was very cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of a little one of the smaller, more self-contained kind of Zeldas, where you got Link and Zelda, but there's no mention of Ganondorf.
Mm-hmm. Not at all, for once.
Sort of a smaller evil in Vaati.
They do have him depicted at the opening sequence, don't they?
Sort of. It doesn't really specify. I mean,
it's
a big boar thing, but it just says shadows encroached on the land and stuff. Mm-hmm. So
it could be.
It could just be a giant moblin.
Yeah.
He looks like a giant moblin. That form looks like a giant moblin. So
yeah,
it could be anything. vague. That's what makes it great. That's what makes this whole series great. Vague lore.
Yes. But yes, we alluded to a little bit. Vaati did originate in the Four Swords games, though I don't think he has much of a character there. He's just kind of an evil purple cloud who kidnapped princesses.
He doesn't have the same form, but he's purple and called Vaati, so...
Yeah, this is the only one where he looks like a kind of a normal dude for part of it.
You mean until he's all eyeballs out of every part of his body, or whatever. He becomes more and more like a weird eyeball cloud during the fight, but yeah, he has like a normal human form at the beginning. Or a normal... whatever. Minish. He was...
Well, he was a Minish, and then he like made himself a human sorcerer, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that was what he wished.
Humans were cool and evil.
I was just thinking while you were reading your summary, like, why do other races keep helping humans? Like, what, it's like, the picori gave them the sword to fight evil and gave them the light force. It's like, why are you doing this? I don't know, whatever. Anyway.
The game implies they get some kind of, like, happiness from making humans happy. Like,
I guess so.
Like, this is also kind of the, like, origin story of why there's rupees in bushes when you cut them down.
So you're saying they just want
in the world.
They just want to create delight? That sounds nice.
They're happy little cute mouse critters that
they have little
make people happy.
They have mice with little long ears, like Hylians.
They're very cute. I really like the Minish design.
Yeah,
they're super cute. I didn't notice that much in the game, but I was looking at like the art later and like especially the concept art, and I was like, oh, it's so cute. During the game, I was like, I gotta find the fucking book or whatever. I was like really focused on whatever task I was doing to not be, I don't know, wasn't looking at them that much. And
I like how they're
scrutinizing them.
Yeah, I like how like a lot of them like live in the world with humans, just like in their houses and stuff.
Yeah,
have their little tiny homes. Like borrow books and then drop them down to return them.
I like that humans can't see you, but animals can. You can like talk to the chicken. Fusing kinstones with the chicken was like my favorite part of the game. Actually, fusing kinstones with the weird mysterious wall was my favorite part.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you couldn't really fuse kinstones with anything.
Some of the dialogue around fusing kinstones, I was like, is that what they're calling it these days?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, be gentle or whatever. I'm like,
okay. It definitely has that. Or they're like, oh, you want to fuse kinstones with me? And it's like, okay, I don't know, do I? At least there's no trees that fall in love with you in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, I like also one other thing that I thought while you were doing your summary was like, always sending children to do tasks. Like, oh, so convenient. The picori will only show themselves to children. Send a kid to go and like fix this plate. They're like, you child.
Ever been.
That's true. That's true. Normally it's just like, oh, my nephew, I am incapacitated. You go save the world, or whatever. Like or just like you, boy who washed up on this island, or like you, boy, world weary boy who has traveled through time and now arriving in this mysterious land. Stop the moon from falling down, or whatever.
I mean, I remember that happened to me all the time when I was younger.
Yeah. I know, now we're old. Now nobody wants us to save the world.
Yeah.
His grandfather's a swordsmith and used to be a swordsman, so explains why Link can use his sword. So
you mean he doesn't just pick it up?
Another game where Link has a relative.
Yeah, I know. Nice.
Yeah.
And also Zelda is explicitly his friend.
Yes.
And not just like, you, random lad, save the world.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I knew you would help me. I'm just a random princess and you're just a random child from the Kokiri forest or whatever.
That's something that did make the game very homey, I guess, is that, like, people knew you.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, in A Link to the Past, you had an uncle or something, right? But, like, no one else really mentioned you. In Link's Awakening, people were very friendly, but you were an outsider. I mean, I guess there was some people in the Wind Waker and Outset.
Yeah, the people in Outset know you.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it with Wind Waker, where it's like, that Link's just kind of a normal kid with a fairly normal life until shit happens, and like this one kind of is too. It's like, he lives with his grandpa, he's a member of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go back, they're all like, hey, Link. Actually, everywhere you go, they're like, oh, I heard there was a boy. All the Picori know about you too. They're like, oh, I heard there was a boy going to get all the elements, or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, news spreads fast in the Minish, I guess.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of a neat little detail that like the humans called them the picori because that's like the noise they make, but like they actually call themselves the Minish.
Yeah, there's like good lore for like having another race in this land in this time. Where you're just like, how are the Zora fish people? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, don't ask questions. How are they fish people that turned into birds? Don't ask questions. I like that Eslo just decided to create a hat that would make you all powerful and like grant your wish.
Yeah.
It's like this will never turn out badly.
Everyone is great. Nothing bad could ever happen from this. Everyone has great wishes in their hearts. And Vaati is meanwhile like, I want to become the greatest sorcerer in the whole world.
Like the Eslo's just like a grumpy old man.
Eslo's the sassiest hat that ever existed.
Yes.
It's like most of your companions in the games are like magical fairies and talking magical boats who are souls of dead kings. And Eslo's just this grumpy old dude who got cursed and is like, hey, take me with you.
Eslo's like, oh, you can help me. I'm just going to sit on your head. And then you go into a dungeon and he's like, wow, it's fucking cold in here.
Yeah.
You're like, thanks, Eslo. But also, like, he does give you advice.
Yeah. My favorite part is when you first run into the mine carts in that one dungeon. He's like, oh, don't be afraid. It'll be fine. And then you get on there and it like takes off like a
so
fucking
fast.
rocket. And then afterward he's like, holy shit, what just happened?
Yeah.
Why'd you make me do this?
It's like, yeah, everything's fine, except it's not.
Yeah. I literally laughed out loud when that minecart took off.
I know, I was
screaming.
like, this is the greatest. And he's like, wah!
Yeah.
The whole time, which is legitimate.
Yeah. It's just, the animation's definitely got a very satisfying, like,
It's
I don't
really
know,
funny.
thing to it. Like, as it goes really fast and then, like, around the turns, it just goes. Oh, yeah.
I think it's also really funny if you like played other games because there's like the minecarts in the other games, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like
But they
shoot
just
something.
trundle along, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm on the minecart. I'm gonna have to hit that switch with my arrow or something later. No, you you can't do anything while you're in the minecart.
Yeah.
You're lucky
Hold
if
on
your
for dear
skin
life.
stays on
That's
your
all
body.
you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
The bosses are fun in this game because some of them are
Yeah.
just normal enemies that are giant because you're tiny.
Yes. I was like, oh, I gotta go fight the giant
Giant Chi-Chu.
Octorok. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm tiny. He's it's a regular Octorok. Yeah, or a regular Choo-Choo. Fighting the giant Choo-Choo is funny. It's so blobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that they took the Choo-Choo design from like Wind Waker, and now it's like, this is the Choo-Choo. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really like the boss of the wind thing. I keep wanting to call it the city in the
The
sky.
Wind Palace. I kept calling
Yeah,
it the Cloud
Palace of the
Place.
Sky? Something like that.
I think it's the
Palace?
Wind
Palace,
Palace?
Palace of the Winds, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
The Wind.
Yeah, that was a really interesting
manta
boss. I
ray.
liked it.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
flying giant manta rays. It's called the Gyorg pair, but they do not resemble either of the Gyorgs that have
No.
existed in the game so far.
No. I think it's just like general fish-esque
Yeah.
boss. Is like what that means. Fish-esque.
But you like
enemy.
hop between the two of them and
That was really cool.
have to do like different things on each one. It's pretty cool.
I regretted not making it there. I'm excited to do that sometime when I play this game in the future because I didn't finish. But I was like watching it. And I was like, wow, look at them. Look at the big manta ray. Look at them jump on the manta ray. And then you got to hit the eye on the one, and you got to split yourself. Everything about it was great. The other dungeons were fun too. Like they were all the bosses. Like I thought this game overall wasn't as hard as other Zelda games.
I thought that, and then I got to Vaati, and I found him very
Well, okay.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
a sharp difficulty spike around the Palace of Winds.
That also
But still,
took
overall,
hard.
it was. Yeah, but like overall, it was still fairly like not as difficult as some others.
Like I feel like the map was small. Like I feel like it's a short game. The map was small, but I got lost a lot. Being like, okay, where do I go now? But I also felt like it was very packed. Like everywhere there was something to do. So it was a very interesting sort of.
Yeah, it was a well-designed world. There was something interesting to see in
Yeah.
most parts of it.
Yeah, there were always little caves or little. If you made things appear with kinstones or whatever, like
Yeah.
there was always stuff that you could do.
Yeah, that was a neat aspect too. That you could like kind of liven up areas you've already been through by opening up secret passageways or summoning golden enemies and stuff.
Yeah, I do think the Cloud Palace or whatever it's called seemed a lot harder, like because you can fall to your death at any point. First of all, because it's all floating, and then you have to do a lot of like using the sword and like timing when you use the sword to like create copies of yourself. That definitely looked. I didn't play that part, but it looked much more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is that until you make the copies, like the little light on the ground you make isn't vulnerable because that was a problem I kept having. Is like I kept by the time I dodged everything and then was able to get up to I got hit again, and then I realized that just get ready to make the last one and dodge everything and make the last one. And that made it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think the whole process was a little too long. I think they should have shortened it.
Yes, yeah.
Because you have to charge up your spin attack, and then the bar has to fill, and then you have to
walk over everything.
Walk over all the things.
Yeah.
And, I think that there's a I think there's an upgrade where it'll make your thing charge faster. It'll make the bar move faster, but it's still pretty long.
Is that what it was, or was it an upgrade that made it so that you started your spin attack, getting up to the spin attack was faster? I thought that's what it was.
I don't remember. I thought it makes the actual bar go faster. Yeah.
You might be right.
There's an upgrade somewhere that I didn't do either, but somewhere you can do that, which would be very valuable, I think.
There are a couple of things that, one of my nitpicks, this is getting ahead, but things just took a little too long. With if you got set on fire or frozen, it took forever to get back to normal. I'm okay, I get it.
If you're on fire, you run so far. So there was, I think one of the times.
Yeah, you can mash yourself against the wall and just run into it until it ends. But it's good God, when is it going to end?
Yeah, but if you hit one fire, there's that one boss where there's fire. There might be more than one, but I was thinking of the specific one, probably the first one, where if you get set on fire, then your only choice is to run around that room and then get set on fire again. It takes so long. It's really annoying, fucking annoying.
And then if you get frozen by the wizards, you're just sitting there mashing the B button for 10 minutes until it finally breaks free.
That was why it was so hard for me to beat the Octorok as well, because you get frozen and then it's still spinning around, and by the time you're finally free, it's spun in a different direction, or it freezes you again, or it sucks you in, or whatever. It was kind of annoying.
Yeah, we also had some new enemies that only appear when you're a Minish size, because when you're big, they're just bugs.
Yeah, the flies, the muscly flies. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, the beefy flies.
I was why do they have so many muscles on their backs? I guess they kind of have human
and then the weird little
bodies.
Mouse things that zoom around the room.
Yeah.
The little, I kind of interpret them as, they reminded me of the bugs from Dr. Mario. So I interpreted them as little bugs.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, those little things, the little red and blue things that spin around really fast.
There's also a new form of lake that has a little rupee lure like an anglerfish.
I know, and I got sucked in by one, and I was how dare you betray me?
Steals your money instead of your shield.
Oh, is that what happened?
I think they showed
how
up.
come I still have my shield? And I see.
Yeah.
I think they showed up in Four Swords, but this is the first time we're seeing them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like the they sort of combine the old version of floor wall masters with the Wind Waker style, so they had that kind of coloring and design to them, but behaved like the old version.
I thought in general the graphic style was really cute and nice. It has it's Wind Waker-esque, but it's still not. It's not the later handheld games. It's not like Spirit Tracks or whatever. It's not quite there. Yeah. But it's the Zelda has a similar outfit and similar appearance. And he's kind of a little chibi. And his outfit, Link's outfit is similar.
Yeah.
King Roan kind of looks like the king from
Wind Waker.
And he makes the same little noise that...
Hey!
Yeah. I did notice a lot of
there's some Wind Waker sound effects.
Sound bites, yeah.
Yeah. Although a lot of the sound that was repeated from Wind Waker was repeated from other games, but so I was I can't tell, is this screaming from Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker? I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought all the bosses were cool, the dungeon bosses were cool, and the dungeons were cool. The dungeons themselves have different, they are very different. They have very different mechanics.
Yeah.
You still know what to do, but I feel I think they were more different to each other than some of the other handheld games that we played. We talked about it with A Link to the Past, which is not a handheld. It was a handheld for me because I played it on the ported one. But
the 2D game, yeah.
The 2D game, yeah, exactly. It was very repetitive. The dungeons were very repetitive. And this game, the dungeon sort of gimmicks, the ice and the sun in the water and the Temple of Droplets or whatever it's called, the droplet place. And then the you know what I mean.
To go retrieve the sacred mystic element from the droplet place.
I was like, droplets. This is the name? Okay, whatever. Just call it the water. I guess you can't call it the water temple. People would panic.
I kind of like that name since it's one of the ones you're mini for. So
yeah, it's that's
like
true actually.
Like it is a droplet. It's just it's huge to you.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And then like the jumping on the whole cloud thing having no edges or very few edges, and then also like you jump on those like grates to flip them over, and like using Rock's cape.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I didn't even like fully realize I was actually in that dungeon for a while. Like I thought it was
like,
still
I see.
like reaching it, you know, because you were outside for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I consulted my map. I'm like, oh, I'm actually in the dungeon. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. And then there's the one in the woods. I don't remember. Anyway, but they all have kind of like different. They are like they have puzzles that are stuff that you like understand what to do, but they're very different from each other. I thought that was nice this time.
Yeah.
Should we talk about game form playing stuff and also whatever segue to Cosm? That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm ready for that.
Okay.
All right. So Minish Cap 2D game.
I think it's like the last one, by the way.
I mean, I think. I always considered the other handheld like Spirit Tracks to be.
I guess they're not 3D. They're kind of like a fixed perspective 3D. Kind of like the new version.
Yeah, they're still kind of top down, like in the style, but it's like it's definitely with like little polygons and stuff.
It's definitely not like
they're not.
Yeah, they're not sprite based, but yeah. And yeah, as we talked about. One of the key gimmicks is you shrink down to a Minish size, and there are certain areas that you access that you're still in the big overworld, but you're tiny, wee little. And then there are other ways you go in as a Minish, and it's just you're shrunk down, and it's pretty similar to you being not small, but you're small. And I think, as we said, like some of the enemies are smaller. You fight bigger versions of enemies you've encountered before. Well. Since you're mini, it's a bit...
They're like normal enemies, but you're small, so they seem gigantic. Yes. Overly explain the concept.
Another interesting mechanic is the kinstones. You find them throughout, and you use them to fuse with other people. And
anything,
it
apparently.
Changes... Or, yes.
Yeah. Other people, animals,
clouds,
inanimate objects,
walls.
Clouds are people too, you know. But yeah, it changes the environment. So like, there's a lot of going back to places. You have to sort of talk to people and like see who you haven't fused with. So it's a very interesting mechanic that's never brought back.
We don't know what they'll do in Tears of the Kingdom.
There's apparently supposed to be, there's like kind of an early concept for a Minish like tiny people in Breath of the Wild originally, but they just never wound up doing it.
Oh.
Like you can see some concept art of like Link talking to tiny people.
Oh, talking to tiny people. Well, some people, there was like fake, I don't know if it's fake, there was like joke speculation about because he's in the clouds, being like the Wind Tribe or whatever from Minish Cap, being them, or whatever, something like that. So this is just joke Tumblr speculation. I don't know if it's real or jokes. You know how Tumblr is.
So for items, there's a surprisingly large number of unique items, I feel.
So many good ones, too.
Yeah, you've got the Gust Jar.
Mole mitts.
You get to suck up things like a vacuum and then spit out a puffball.
Yeah.
And it reacts in different ways. You can suck up enemies and then launch them. Some enemies, you, like, knock them dizzy, like flying things, things like that. Your sword. We don't even have the Master Sword. We have the Four Sword, and it's various iterations before it's fully upgraded.
Yeah, but they brought sword beams back, which made me really happy.
They brought sword beams back. They brought.
I like how there's one when you're at full health, one when you're at one heart.
Yes. Then there's the cane of Paki. You flip things around. You can throw it in holes, and you can start jumping around.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. The mole mitts. Usually, I mean, we have. Yeah, well, actually, because we've had shovels before where you can dig. But these you can't really dig in the ground. You dig things that are like you dig tunnels for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I like it. It was
I liked
cool.
it too.
It's kind of satisfying. I don't know. Just in general,
It
a
reminded
lot
me
of
of
the
the
animations and
the mole transformation in Yoshi's Island.
Oh, it reminded me of terraforming in Animal Crossing. At least in the most recent version.
Am I crazy, or is there a item kind of like this in Skyward Sword?
I believe there is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It actually might be called the same thing. It might be the mole mitts.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something similar at the very least.
Oh, it's not quite. So yeah, when I click on mole mitts, it says only Minish Cap. But
The digging mitts, apparently.
Ah,
You should have
yes.
called them the mole mitts. That's a missed opportunity.
But it
Yeah,
upgrades
I'm
to
pretty
it upgrades to the magma mitts, which are those little digger dudes.
Oh.
yeah.
I guess that's fine. I feel like mole is too real world for this.
Yeah. There's no moles in this game. Do you see a
We're
mole?
in Hyrule.
I don't see a mole.
A unique item that I didn't get is the remote bomb. I forgot that was in there.
I know. Mm-hmm. I didn't get that, but also
Yeah, I think
isn't
you
that
had to talk to all of Tingle's people, right? Or was it a boomerang upgrade? I don't remember. I didn't care
that's
enough
the
to seek
boomerang.
it out.
The boomerang is Tingle's people.
I didn't
The
care enough to
remote
seek
bomb
out
is-
either of those upgrades, so...
Yeah. It's one of the Minish elders that
You have to talk to a Minish, a little Minish person. Yes.
You got the light arrow, which is interesting, and there's no magic in this game except for your four swords split.
Four sword magic.
So with the light arrow, you just charge it and it goes. Lantern didn't need any magic, things like that.
I know. And it was fun. I liked the lantern. It's like, ooh, I can use the light.
Yeah, the lantern was
At any time.
Yeah, and there's really because you can walk up to things and you kind of just light it on fire.
Yeah.
Which I saw. I'll get to this in the speedrun, but you do that to a Wizrobe. You just walk up to it and you'll burn it and they die.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Learn something new every
They
day.
were the green ones, I think. So it's not even like the ice ones are weak to fire or something like that. I think it was just they don't like fire.
It's a really aggressive lantern. Like, when you light it, it goes like... whoosh.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
lots of noise.
For upgrades, you've got the grip ring, which is I think pretty. I don't think there's anything like that where you get to climb up
yeah.
walls. Well, I guess is that really only useful in the mountain area? Do you climb anything else?
I think there's like one or two other walls that show up, but they're not really like a challenge. Like, they don't have rocks
Yeah.
coming down or anything.
No.
That is one complaint I heard was that like a lot of items that were really cool are kind of forgotten about as soon as you get them, like the grip ring, stuff
The
like
gust
that.
jar you use most of the game, though.
The gust jar you use a lot. The cane you don't use you use to navigate around, but
Well, and to
not
make
very
turn
much.
flip like pots over so you can become small.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, you don't really use it in combat very much after the boss.
no.
And I think they don't really do too much more to advance like when you use it, other than like the cane. I think at the Vaati fight is an interesting sort of like that. Like I was like, what do I do? No, they're not going to make me use the cane, are they? And they did.
What did you have to
seemed
use
very-
the cane for?
To flip his arm
little
up.
arms upside
So you
down.
can go
Oh, yeah, so
inside.
you can go inside them. Yeah, I forgot about that
Yeah.
part. Yes.
Yeah.
I love mechanics in games where you turn small and go inside of a thing.
Hee.
and sabotage it from the inside.
I felt excited. There's one of the bosses you have to do that. It was the hand guy, the floating hand and head guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
you do it a couple times in here. There's
yeah,
like
and then you do that for
there's
Vaati.
one in like a Banjo-Kazooie game where you do something like that, and there's
Yeah,
a couple
yeah,
others
yeah.
I can think of off the top of my head, and they're always fun.
I mean, technically, you go inside the divine beast in Breath of the Wild, just not teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not the same, but it's kind of similar, I guess. I don't know. I like that you go in some of those, like, not the Dark Nets, but whatever those other things are called.
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
arm
those-
Armos.
Armos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go inside those and turn them on or off, which is pretty funny. I was like, oh, a conveniently placed, thing to become small. I see what I have to do.
I did like how they made you turn one on and then made you turn one off.
Yeah.
Afterward, yeah.
Yes.
It was a nice
It
little-
wasn't the same mechanic. It was the same mechanic, but not the same, intended.
It's
outcome.
not the same exact puzzle.
Yeah.
It's sort of working backwards.
I was like, oh, turn it off. And oh, turn it on. I see.
The minute she tells you how to do it is like, have you tried turning it off and on again?
I I was really annoyed when I walked up to the one that wasn't turned on, and I was like, I'm hitting it. Why isn't it coming to life? And then I had to go back and do the thing. I was like, oh, I see.
The cape had, I didn't look this up. The cape had a little, cape. Yeah, because usually it's the Rock's feathers. When have we had the Rock's cape
There's an
before?
upgrade for Rock's cape in some other game. I can't remember which one. You get Rock's feather, and then you can upgrade it to Rock's cape, and then you think you can go farther.
Mm-hmm. So Seasons, Oracle of Seasons.
Games.
Yeah. That's right.
Which would make sense because they were all developed by Capcom. Oh, I forgot to say that at the beginning.
Oh,
This game was also developed by Capcom, or in collaboration with Capcom, or however they choose to formally describe this. Yeah.
The other item. Oh, the Tiger Scrolls. You get some weapon or sword technique upgrades. Some of them are pretty cool. Like, we talked about like the sword beams at full health and low health. There's a dash attack. It's kind of cool. You roll and then slide with your sword. Satisfying.
I didn't learn that one. That's fun.
Yeah.
There's like a hurricane spin. It's not called that, but like there's like a enhanced spin attack that's basically hurricane spin.
Yeah. That was very satisfying when I got that, and it's fun. Especially there's towards the end in the like shadow castle or whatever. There's a room with a bunch of those little thieving cat people, and I just used that and just got all the way to the end, just killing all of them as I went. I don't know. It definitely had a satisfy to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I never found a good time to use the hurricane spin during Wind Waker, like in an actual place where like it would be super like actually effective.
Yeah.
Because normally it's like fight a bunch of dark nuts or something, and it's like, well, I can't really just spin around. Like it's not going to be effective. You know what I mean? Like, so it's nice that you found a place to use it that was satisfying in this game.
And it was definitely a lot easier because, like, I think in Wind Waker you didn't have as much control on where you went, and you got dizzy afterwards. This one I felt like you had a lot more. It was a lot more usable. I used it to kill moblins all the time, and
nice.
Yeah.
I think it was also just that, like, after the point that I got it in Wind Waker, I didn't have very much left. Like, there were definitely places where there were a lot of mobs where, like, I could have used it earlier in the game, but it was more about, like, when the timing of when I was able to get it or something. I was like, well, I got it. Like I said, it's like, oh, a room with 3 dark nuts. Well, it's not going to be helpful to, like, spin around. Like, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I should have tried it. But because you have to get them from behind, and you have to, like, you know, it's kind of more.
The darkness just like stare at you while you're
spinning around. They kind of just, like, I don't understand this warrior's technique. They all kind of look like they're scrutinizing you anyway. Like they kind of look like you're staring at you anyway, staring into your soul with their little Anubis eyes in Wind Waker. The style of the darkness in this game is also very similar, actually. Their, like, visual style.
Yeah.
Like a little, you know, Game Boy Advance-ified version.
Yes.
Which was cute. I liked that. I like that style for them. Not the scary ones from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. The last notable items, I feel like, are the picolites. You can clear up a spot in the town, and Beetle shows up and sells you these, and you drink them, I think. I didn't actually use any of them. But you consume them, and it increases your drop rates for different items and such, like hearts, rubies, kinstones.
It looked like the charms. There's, like, you can get, like, it's not called, like, Ferori's Wind or whatever, or, like, Din's Fire, but there's, like, charms that you can get from them as well, but you have to keep them in a jar. Are they, like, one-time consumable, or does it just have, like, a time limit?
They are consumables that,
it's just called Din's Charm, I guessed right.
Yeah.
Fusing Kinstone with Ferori, Gorman will live at Hyrule Town, blah, 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 rent a house, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you have to play real estate agent for the goddesses.
Yeah, I know, that was really funny. Din's Charm. Din's Charm turns Link's clothes red and increases his attack. Oh, it doesn't say if it's just, like, consumable or not. That's just all that it says. And
it also changes your tunic color, which is kind of cool.
You talked about multi-links, right? I can't remember. You mentioned it briefly.
Yeah, yeah. You can, for a brief period of time, you can go onto these pads that will split you into 2, 3, or 4 links.
3? Yeah.
Up to 4, depending on which version of the 4 sword you have. How many elements you have, essentially. And you use it to unlock puzzles, defeat bosses, the typical puzzles and such like that.
Stand
and
on
then
2
if
things
you
to open a door, etc.
Yeah, if you get hit if you or your clones get hit, or you make your clones walk into a wall, they'll disappear.
Mm-hmm. Or you run out of time. It's like time limited.
Yes. You have a magic meter that drains when you have them out, and they disappear then too. And other things, like I think you can't roll using certain items and such, causes them to disappear as well. But yeah, it was inspired by Four Swords, but definitely the execution is a lot different.
Oh, my favorite enemy came back. I was looking through my list of topics.
Oh, yeah?
And my favorite enemy, I mean, the enemy I hate the most, Moldorm, came back.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't believe this. When are we going to know how to fight Moldorms again? The mini ones, the little tiny ones, not the big one.
I don't mind the mini ones. The big one can go to hell and stay there.
As long as there's not something that I'm going to fall off of and have to reset. I liked that with the Georg.
Oh, yeah.
Double Georg battle. Like the boss. You fall off, but then you just take damage. You don't have to, like, restart.
Yeah.
I was like, this is good planning.
Yes.
I also liked how, in some of the, like, multi-level dungeons that had, like, falling through the floor as a mechanic, you could see, like, a mini version of the floor beneath you, so you didn't have to, like, guess where you were going to fall. Like,
yes, I also have comments
like,
about that.
That's where I was before. Yeah.
The general, like, structure of that specifically in dungeons was better, but they also did other sort of, like parallax visual effects and stuff. That was just one variant. Yeah. I guess we could theoretically seamlessly segue to talk about that. Unless there's other enemies and things. Oh, characters who came back. How pretty
it is.
It's great. Oh, yeah, it is pretty. Dampé the Graveyard guy came back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the big Goron came back.
The Gorman.
Yeah. The organ grinder guy also. But, like, maybe not the same guy. An organ grinder was there.
Yeah.
Nope, not playing the Song of Storms, though. How dare. Very dare.
Yeah, I didn't use any of those, like, Pico light things or whatever, but when I walked into town and he was there, I was like, I see you, Beetle.
I see you. And Tingles were there, but I didn't talk to them either.
Yeah.
Malin and Talon? Is that his dad's name?
Yeah, Talon and Malin, right?
Talon,
Talon. The ranch was there. I like that it's like you got to go in and get the spare key for them, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The key that pissed me off was Dampy's. Because he's like, here, take the key.
Steal it.
The bird steals it, and then you go and he's like, here, give me the key, I'll open it for you. It's like, bitch, why'd you give me the key in the first place?
Just so they can, like, add a thing to make it
bird was only,
harder.
like, one screen over, though. I
know,
it was
right?
more complicated than that. I was like,
Yeah.
That whole thing was strange. It's like, I'll just let me show up there. Like, just make your way there, and maybe he's there. I don't know, whatever. Strange.
Yeah, he's used to these birds. You could at least warn me about it, you know?
You don't think that crows are going to steal your shit all the time or whatever? Yes, okay. I don't know. Any other things that you want to say about gameplay other than before we start talking about how pretty this game is?
I mean, I got the speedrun stuff.
Right. I was sorry.
First?
I don't have a note in my own notes about speedruns.
No worries.
I was trying to cut you off of speedruns.
You tried to speedrun the speedrun section.
Yeah.
Actually, I had to do that. I forgot to watch a speedrun. So I had to watch that before we did today, so I had to skip ahead of a few things. But
how long is the speedrun?
It was an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I had to watch it in like about an hour, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, this game I think doesn't have too much crazy speedrunner stuff going on.
Not that they found yet, but they're always looking. It seems like.
I think so. I saw, the games done quick. Typically, they have really good commentary, but because of COVID, they weren't live. So there was one that I watched which did not have it was they streamed it, and I don't think the guy had anyone like couching, providing information about what was going on and like the techniques and things like that. So something happened, and I was like, "What the fuck happened?" So I went and looked for an older one, but they didn't even do that. So I don't know if it's a newer strategy, but
well, tell us about it.
Yeah. So something that I learned that not even really a speedrun. If you roll, you're invincible from most enemies, so you can just roll through them. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I did that with the Dark Nuts all the time.
Yeah, 'cause you gotta roll
and I was like,
behind
oh,
them.
that's cool. And I didn't even realize that I could just do that to everyone else. I just thought it was a Dark Nut specific thing. But yeah, you just... If an enemy's in your right way, you can roll past them.
That's
But
convenient.
yeah, there's really like 5 main glitches. One is an ocarina glitch where if you use the ocarina and then skip that little cutscene where the bird comes, the map freezes. And so it helps you walk through certain things that you're not supposed to walk through. Or stuff like that.
I forgot we didn't talk about the ocarina and the bird.
Oh yeah, the ocarina's back. It works the same way as
The warp whistle. Oh no,
the ocarina in
Link's Awakening.
Is it Link's Awakening?
Is it?
Well, just that one song where the cuckoo picks you up.
Yeah.
And
Chicken.
I think Seasons or
This one's sort of a
Ages,
blue parrot.
Except this one only has the one song. It does not have multiple songs like some of the previous games we've played.
No, and it uses the warp whistle music.
Yes.
Yeah, and then a blue parrot picks you up. Not blue chicken friend, but pretty close.
They're reminiscent of the
The
tutorial birds in
Yeah.
the Oracle games.
Yeah, they change their sprite slightly. I like when you go to the cloud place, all the parrots are chilling there too, which is also funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, speedrun. So you do the warp, and then the map freezes, and you can walk through stuff.
Yeah. And so this lets you like glitch through a wall, and then like previous games where you can just, you're in a wall, so there's a barrier to get you in the wall, but once you're in the wall, you can kind of freely roam, but once you're out, you're out. So you can kind of... The walls have eyes? I don't know. I've never seen it. I assume that's what it is. The walls have eyes it? No? Am I wrong?
I don't know. I haven't seen it either. I think it's funny.
For the portals, the Minish portals, if you position yourself just right and use an item and then jump on it around the same time, you can then use that item while you're on the portal, and you can also jump off the portal and get a higher height. And if you combine that with like getting hit or something like that, you can jump over walls that way too. And
The walls are
do
that
a couple
low?
other skips. Yeah, I guess so, because you're already standing on like a pot, and then you jump even higher, and then get hit to get a little bit more height,
Yeah.
and now you're in the walls again. Boss door clipping. You can use the magical boomerang, and when you go through a boss door, as you have the boomerang out, don't actually enter the loading zone, and you can kind of like walk through the wall, and you can load other rooms. And when you're in the wall, sometimes you can... It considers you like on a level above the floor, so it thinks you're like essentially in the ceiling. So when you walk, you can start walking through, and you're just hovering over the map. I think that's a combination of the ocarina glitch and getting up to that level through some other technique anyway. And then so you can like walk on water or walk on just like over things. And then this is the one that I didn't see in the... And so on this website it said that it was updated 7/23/2019. And I'm pretty sure that the speedrun I watched was from 3 years ago. So it could have been right before this was discovered. It's called diagonal angle retention. And when you go into a hole, like one of the ones that you use the cane to get yourself more air. So if you go in one of those holes and you jump out using a diagonal...
Yeah.
I guess it matters. So it should be clockwise of where you're facing. So if you're facing up, you want up right. If you're facing right, you want right down. You're considered going at an angle, and when you start pulling things, you pull them at that angle. So in the second level, you have to like pull a pole with a chest in it and get it into a hole. You can pull it, and instead of it coming with you, it goes at an angle diagonal. And so you can use that to, like, skip through things that you're not supposed to. It'll go through walls and shit. It's really wonky. But yeah, that's about it. So a lot of just clipping through walls and going through things that way. But yeah, the speedrun was about an hour and a half. It was interesting, but there wasn't a whole lot of crazy things going on. There was talks about random number generation. It works the same way as Oracle of Ages, and I think Seasons, but you just don't use RNG in that as much, where every time you slash, you change the RNG number. So if you know what number you're at, you can manipulate it so that a certain number of rolls happen, and then you know exactly what that order is going to be once you sort of know where you are in that RNG.
So you're saying there was no, like, up, down, left, right, BA, flip, go through
yeah,
wall,
there's nothing like that. There's nothing
thing.
like... Yeah, there's nothing like... what was it? Was it
Pull
Oracle
out an
of
item,
Ages?
jump on your own sword.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
With Oracle of Ages, you had to, like... You shoot an arrow, throw a boomerang, have a bomb explode, stand
Right.
on this pixel, and because your name was this, you're at the credit scene.
Right.
Like,
Old
nothing-
man,
nothing
and you
like
say
that,
no, so he
yeah.
shows you how to catch Pokemon, and then
Yes.
you fly to Silver Island.
Yeah. So, you know, it was a pretty standard run. Just a lot of execution skills, not really breaking the game, not really that many glitches. But the few that you did use, you used a lot. Let's see. Okay, so for the speedruns, it's been actually fairly active. It seems like the top 11 have been within the last year or so, with the most recent being 9 months ago. The most recent, the number one speedrun being 9 months ago. So number one is TGH, who has it in 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 40 seconds. Let's see. There was 100%. Speedrun was done by Toad's Woot 2 years ago. 3 hours and 58 minutes.
I can play this game in 4 hours. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems like not a very competitive category. There's only 11 submissions over the past 8 years.
There was one game that you looked at that only had like a few, like 3 or 4
I think it was
oracles.
Oracle. It might have been Oracles and Ages, both of them 100%.
Oh yeah, I think
or
that's
something
what it
like
was.
Yeah.
because that was a long 10 hours or something. But
So if you want to be a famous speedrunner, Oracles is the game to target. That's what I'm hearing. Or Minish Cap, I guess.
let's see. Yeah, there's over 100, and there's 183 in any percent. And then in glitchless, TGH again coming in first about 10 months ago. 2 hours and 13 minutes and 15 seconds. I guess that matters. Out of 35 submitted runs. Yep. Yeah, all of those are, I think, fairly short. Again, I guess I don't know if it's new developments, but 9 months ago, the TGH beat the record for both. 10 months and 9 months, yeah. So
What was the record before? Like, how long was it before?
1 hour, 31 minutes, and 49 seconds
So, like,
versus
it wasn't
1 hour, 27. So it was about 4 minutes
different.
shorter in any percent, and glitchless was also about 4 minutes and 30 seconds shorter.
That seems like execution difference, not like, oh,
Yeah,
we found
yeah,
a major
yeah.
glitch, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
4 minutes
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
from, like, for an hour and 27 minutes, 4 minutes is a good chunk of that, you know?
True.
There doesn't seem to be many more recent ones that compete, because that was 9 months ago and 1 year ago. We're in 1 and 2, and then we have some more recent ones in, like, 3rd and 4th and 8th place, you know, something like that. So it doesn't seem like a breakthrough happened recently. It may have just been, really good execution.
It was all the chat supporting them, apparently.
Yeah. Could be. Or, like, I don't know, 4 minutes consistently in both. Maybe he found a 4-minute shortcut that no one's...
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, well, okay, let's see. In glitchless, there was 2 years ago was 18 minutes and 2 hours and 18 minutes. And then the same month, TGH and someone else have first and second place. So it was 2:18, 2:17, and 2:13. So again, TGH came in with 4 minutes ahead,
Ahead of everybody else.
but second place was around that time too. But yeah, so that's the speedrunning, all the glitches in there that I saw, and that were notable.
Nothing
not
fancy.
as. I mean,
nothing weird and exciting like some of the other games that we talked about.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this game, and I enjoyed playing it normally so much that I forgot about speedruns entirely. So I guess that tells you something about the game.
It was definitely a very enjoyable game.
Yeah,
for many reasons.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because I remember really enjoying this when it came out, but I hadn't really played it since then.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh my god, I was a dumb kid who just liked anything that was Zelda related, and like, am I going to be really disappointed with this?
Zelda tinted glasses.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and it looks nice, which we can talk about. That's my seamless segue. Visuals. Let's start with the outside. So, like, some of the Zelda games that we played so far came with like special packaging where they were like gold or whatever, and I didn't see anything for special packaging for this game, but it did come bundled with a special edition of the Nintendo with the Game Boy Advance SP. I was trying to remember what it's called. It took me a second. So there was a special Game Boy Advance SP that was like a gold, it's like the clamshell version, and it had a Triforce on the outside. And it might have had a Hyrule Crust on the inside, I can't remember, but it was gold, which is most important. So that's where you get the gold packaging. So
there were a lot of special edition Game Boy Advance SPs.
There were. They really liked
why they went
SPs.
so crazy with that one.
There's a lot of special edition 3DSs also, like 3DS XLs and stuff. Maybe not necessarily the first 3DS, but like, yeah. And I don't know. They really like to go crazy with their handheld consoles because like the Game Boy Advance had a number of different ones, and so did the Game Boy Color. Like Game Boy Color obviously had a lot. That was its whole kind of like deal.
I've got an SP that has an overlay that looks like the NES system and controller.
Yeah, they do really specifically like to make NES and Super Famicom versions of the consoles too, which is really funny.
I didn't even buy that one. I got it by accident.
In terms of visuals of the game itself, so technologically, obviously the Game Boy Advance had the last handheld game that we played was Link's Awakening. I always get confused because I played Link to the Past on my handheld. Huh?
The Oracle games are handheld.
Oh, right. Duh. You're right.
Yes.
They were for Game
Color.
Boy Color? Yes.
Yeah. I
should know. Since I talked about this before. But yeah, so this game, I think it was the only, other than Link to the Past, the Link to the Past port, it was like this was the only Game Boy Advance game, Legend of Zelda game. Mm-hmm. And so that comes with like a higher resolution and also like more processing power. And what's cool, one of the cool things that I noticed specifically about the visuals in this game is that so like you said, the floor, like through holes in the floor, the background images they used were more detailed, which was cool. And also they were rendered in a way that sort of produced like a parallax effect. So the thing that's supposed to appear closest to you moves faster relative to things that are farther away. Mm-hmm. That is what parallax means. And so not only the backgrounds and dungeons, but also one time they used it a lot was when you're shrunken down to small size. So like they used like layering that obscured you. So like there might be stuff on the sides that move slower relative to you walking, like on the like grass bending over the little tunnel. Or like when you're in the rafters, you can see the floor below, like you can see a background of the floor in the house below in the like, not the library, the scholar's house. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, specifically when you're a little Minish size, there's a lot of use of this like parallax effect of making you look really small, making the environment look really big. So that was like one of the main specific things that I noticed. We kind of talked about how the visual style was very similar to Wind Waker in a lot of ways, but like 2D-ified and like sprite-ified. But yeah, that parallax effect was one of the main things that I noticed that was happening that I thought was really interesting and different than some of the older games. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of comments. It's pretty looking. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
It's very pretty.
It's definitely one of the prettier Game Boy Advance games.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is toward the end of the Game Boy Advance life cycle, so it had pretty advanced, like, they knew what they were doing, right? So it was pretty advanced looking graphics and detailed graphics.
Yeah, I remember in general, the Game Boy Advance compared to the Game Boy Color was such a huge jump that, like,
for sure,
tiny little child mind. But this is definitely one of the has some of the prettiest use of the GBA graphics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like I can specifically remember this is a different game, but like I was watching the like progress on the next Pokemon games, the Ruby and Sapphire that were coming out. And like when I first saw like preview images of it, it was like blowing my mind, like all the colors and there's like reflections on water and stuff. I was like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, it can support either 16 or 32 colors. I think the Game Boy could support like 8, so it had doubled. A lot of the it was technically, it could support, the Game Boy Advance could support 32-bit like rendering, but most of the time it ended up being 16 because of like memory limitations. So like things were still like were sort of limited in that way by the processing power of the system, and it had a similar like structure technically to the Game Boy Advance and the Super Nintendo, or sorry, the Game Boy Color and the Super Nintendo, where it used like a similar processing engine, but then it had like similar stats to the SNES. I learned a really interesting thing about the SNES actually while I was looking this up, because the Game Boy Advance could do this too. But it had different ways of rendering backgrounds. So like you could set different modes. And one of the ways, which wasn't used in any of the games that we played, but you could take like a flat image and then skew it for the background. I'm going to link like a blog. I'll link this one too. I talked about I've been using this like resource, which is Rodrigo Copetti's blog, where he talks about all the technical architecture of all of the consoles. But yeah, I showed a really good example. So like imagine like if you had like a flat image, the game was for like it was a racing game. I can't remember which one, but it's like skewed so that the road is like pointed in front of you, and that's like a flat background that was like skewed to have like a perspective. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. And then the sprite for the cars is like the back end of a car that's like flat, so it travels along this like what's it called? Like skewed flat background, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the Game Boy Advance can do that too. I don't think it was used very much in this game, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, the way that they like make all this happen is really beyond my depth technically, but very interesting.
Yeah,
it makes me feel out of my depth, but it's cool. But yeah, so it basically like the Game Boy Advance could handle more multiple background layers and more like color depth and more complexity in the imagery. And so all those things kind of combine to give you those like use of parallax in this game, and also just the overall detail and visual style. You get a lot of like different looks and feels, different looks in like different parts of the map too. Like I think the areas of the map are more differentiated from each other because you have like a greater color palette than some of the other games that we played. Like I'm thinking like the difference between this and like the NES, but even compared to like the Game Boy, you would still have greater variability, which is pretty cool. It's pretty. In summary, it's pretty.
Yes.
I didn't have a lot of things to say. Like it's still like a sprite based game. It's just like a more advanced and like richer version of the kind of games that we've already been playing that use these techniques for
a lot
rendering.
of the big like complex enemy sprites were cool too, for like the boss battles and stuff.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the
there
big
were
choo-choo.
like multiple sprites together and stuff.
Yeah. Do you have any other things you want to say about visuals, or should I talk about sounds? I don't have that much to talk about. Also, just like awesome.
There's like 3 distinct sort of styles, I think, within the game. They use the stained glass art for the opening sequence, and they use it a couple times. And then they have the sprite visuals, and then they have the more like I don't know, like photo, more not photorealistic, but like remember the end credits of Oracle of Ages and Seasons, how they had those very nice not splash art. I can't think of the right word, but they got some pictures like that throughout. That's really cool. I think Link's hair is very because when you stood on a Minish portal, like you had that aura and glowing energy, and you could like see his clothes flutter and his hair kind of go up. Yeah. So there's just a lot of small details, and it's a very pretty game.
There's also one other thing that I just remembered. In addition to sort of like other layers of parallax, like there was layering of like smoke, like there has been in other games, but also there's specifically layering of like light. So when you go into like the Minish Woods, there's like the light beams and stuff. So like just when you're walking through the overworld, not not limited to like situations in a dungeon where there's cover or you're walking underneath something. I think there was like added like an added experience of depth, like 3D in the overworld, which was nice. But yeah, there's more like, I don't know how you call it. I know what you're talking about, Cosmo. It's not like photorealistic, but there's like more kind of like painty looking style. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. A very pretty game.
It is pretty. I'm glad I had a backlit screen to experience it on.
Didn't get a little twisty, bendy light to...
Didn't have to hold it in the sun or whatever. Yeah, but it's so nice. All of those games... Can you imagine playing all these games like without a backlight now? It's like so sad. Yeah. Because you'd be missing out on so much of that like depth in the experience if you didn't have a good backlight, I feel like.
Yeah.
I want to talk about music. Because music is also interesting. Because we didn't talk about this before. I don't think I looked at all the the way that this worked when I played Link to the Past, because like I wouldn't have talked about this console when we were playing Link to the Past. But something that was interesting is like obviously the Game Boy Advance it was backwards compatible to play Game Boy games. So there's a way for the system to tell if it was a Game Boy game or a Game Boy Advance game. And the nice thing about so you remember Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games, they use like chip tunes. They use programmable sound generated sounds. The Game Boy Advance supported like digital samples. So not just like generated with a chip tune, but it also supported just playing like digital audio samples, which is cool. So it had 2 channels for digital audio, and then it also could play, I think, like 4-channel chip tune noises so that it could play Game Boy games. So it was compatible for that. But some Game Boy Advance games integrated both. So there's also an interesting article that I'm going to link. There was like an example from the game Mother, where like the regular environment, I guess like I've never played this game, but there's sort of like a nostalgic place in the game or like a environment, and so it plays the sound using like just a recorded like audio sample, like a short audio sample that's digital, but it's like obviously like played by like analog instruments that were recorded and then made digital. And then when you go into this different area, it plays the same song but using the chip tune, like the chip generator. So like it's very interesting. So it was used in a lot of different ways. So that's why you have like a mix in this game. Like you can hear different examples of like what sounds like analog sound that was recorded and sampled, and then you also have like the classic noises that were generated by like chiptunes in older games, which is pretty cool. So you have like a mix of both. And like some of the sounds that I thought were interesting specifically were like, especially toward the end of the game, there's a lot of use of this like harp noise that I think is recorded. I think it's like not like I mean it's not a chiptune generated sound. So like this is specifically in this like there's like spooky harp in the valley, what is it called, the Royal Valley or whatever, where all the ghosts are and stuff. And then there's like a different harp noise that's used in the cloud world. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was very interesting. So you can hear like a mix of analog and chiptune, or like digital samples and chiptune generated music on the Game Boy Advance. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize that was something that you could do with this console, but it makes sense because they had to support Game Boy games. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of like notable sound, other than the like harp sound effect, which is something that I specifically remembered, we had some like greatest hits from Zelda games return, like the Hyrule Field theme, which has its like the ground version, and then also the different version when you're in the clouds. It has like another riff on that. It kind of reminded me of the Hyrule Field theme from Ocarina of Time, the one where you're like in the clouds. It doesn't use the same do 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 like the regular one, but it kind of sounded like the Ocarina of Time one, which was cool. There's the fairy fountain, inside a building noises, and then you have like classic sound effects like hearts and chests and rupees, and then like Link screaming, like we talked about before. And yeah, I can't tell if the screaming is the screaming from Wind Waker or if it's the screaming from Ocarina of Time. I'm not sure. The Link to the Past one was definitely from Ocarina of Time, but this game came out after Wind Waker, so I'm not sure which version of Link's sword swinging and screaming noise. Oh, and then the screaming is actually kind of like the Game Boy scream where he like falls down things that like from before. But yeah, I was thinking of the sword swinging screaming noises. Oh, and then I think that like Ganon's theme also came back, and like that Dark Hyrule Castle theme that's been in a couple games as well. And I liked the creepy harp, and I liked the like wolves howling in the Royal Valley too. I thought the music there was really cool. And
there's a couple of interesting remixes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were gonna talk
go
about that,
ahead.
but there's one I think is on the western side. Well, both of these are I think on the western side. There's the castle theme that is just played in the overworld in I don't remember what the area was called, but the place before the swamp. I think it's where it might have been the mountains, but yeah, it's the that might have just been the Great Plains or the
between Hyrule Castle and the swamp.
But like it had that do 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 do.
Oh yeah,
I think that main part. Yeah, but then it had I think maybe part of the main theme mixed in with it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
yes.
And then I think in the swamp area it had it might have been the same song, might have been a different song. But it had a very like a filter over it, to fit the swamp environment. Thought it was interesting.
The swamp also kind of oh no, it wasn't the swamp. It was like the ruins had that like Gerudo Valley-esque song. Like it had a very similar vibe to me. I can't remember exactly what it sounded like, otherwise I would like sing it for you. But the Castor ruins when you're going through had a similar vibe. They were definitely like in the like essence of Zelda. It definitely sounded like a Zelda music. I feel like the music is always always like that though. Like there's a mix of reused things and a mix of new things that are sort of like remixed that make it feel very Zelda. And this game definitely had that. There was no horrifying music like in some of the like Ocarina of Time dungeons. Oh, they did the same visual effect. I forgot to mention it, but they did I read a long thing about the warping visual effect. You know how when Vaati like appears or Vaati appears and disappears and there's this like wiggling effect? I talked a lot about the wiggling effect in the Oracle's games. But yeah, I read about how that was actually like rendered in the SNES too. They did the same thing because like you could follow along the line. So like a CRT screen renders going like across the screen bit by bit. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It starts in the top left and then renders all the way across very, very fast in a way that we can't perceive normally. But they're basically able to like skew like when things are rendered across like in like a row, so it kind of becomes like distorted horizontally, and that's how they get that effect like for when Vaati like appears and reappears and kind of like zips in. And they did that distortion like in the water in Oracle of Seasons, definitely in Oracle of Seasons, or it was Oracle of Ages where you have to like become mermaid and swim around, right? So they used that like horizontal distortion in the water. Yeah. You loved it. What are you talking about? Why are you sound like that? But yeah, so they used that effect again because that's something that the SNES and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance all could do. It was a good game and I enjoyed it. Yeah. I feel like we don't have a lot to say except I feel like it's like I don't know. It was so cute. And fun.
Like it's
I don't know. Yeah.
I think part of it is it was short. It was pretty simple.
So.
Yeah.
Anything crazy about it, but
yeah, I think it was compact and like it was short. The map was small, but like all of it was enjoyable and like solid. Yeah. I am kind of disappointed that they haven't remade it. I would love like not a remaster like they did with Link's Awakening, where like they moved it to like full 3D graphics, but like updated sprites and being able to see it on the big screen. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
I mean, it would just be nice if they just like ported it. Then you could like play it on the Switch or whatever, like port it and give it a higher definition.
Yeah.
Basically I guess because like those NES ports, like they're obviously like scaled up. Like they're not. That wasn't the resolution. I think. It's not like when you play the like N64 on your screen and then it's like everything is stretched and sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they ported it for the Switch or something, that would be nice. It was ported for the Wii U, and the Wii U had 1920 by 1080p resolution, so there might be a high resolution version. Awesome. I don't know. I don't know how they displayed it on the Wii U. We can't access a virtual console anymore, but
yeah. There, I do have some critiques.
Okay.
I think just like I think there are some quality of life improvements. I mean, it's the Game Boy Advance. You really only had 4 buttons to work with, I was a little
But they
disappointed
still
that
didn't
they
use
didn't
them all.
put.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they I think
barely
they
use
should have
R.
put the Pegasus boots on L.
Yeah.
Wasn't that roll?
R was roll, and it was also open doors
Yeah.
and talk sometimes. It had
Yeah, I
context
don't think
switch.
R needed to be that. I think R could have been another
Yeah, like A
Yeah.
can be that.
button and just let A be the context
But then,
button.
I mean, for the roll, maybe
The roll
because
is
then
good.
that's your item. So,
Yeah, but even
But
in
yeah.
most games, the roll is just A. So
yeah.
True.
But then you can't swap out with your sword. You can't put your sword on A. You can't put, So, like, I mean, maybe if they made it L, you tap L and you roll, you hold L, you Pegasus boots, you're talking, like, in front
or
of
just
someone.
make him
you
walk
press
faster
L.
so you don't need to roll.
I just rolled
Yeah.
all the time, every single place
Yeah.
that I went, even when I
Yeah.
was tiny.
Yes.
I always, whenever I'm playing a like a Game Boy or any kind of handheld game, I like impulsively hold down B to run faster because that's how you do it in Pokemon. And then when it doesn't work, I'm like, what's happening? Why can't I go faster?
Unless you want to blast around the screen, like what was the Pokemon item? The rollerblades or whatever, the horrible
Fuck,
one.
those really-
Oh, yeah. A few other things, like especially the Gust Jar. I feel like after using it, especially when you're on the lily pad, I feel like you're done, and I want to like change angle and press it again, and like it just, I guess I didn't wait long enough.
Yeah, the animation for putting it away was a little too long. So like you'd think
Gust
you
Jar.
were already turning in the other direction, but you weren't yet. Yeah, I had that problem too.
Those were some of the biggest ones. I do think it was as a Minish, especially in the overworld, you couldn't move diagonally, which I don't know if there's a specific reason for that, but it just seemed a little unnecessary. In the main town, the dog that gets in your way, you talk to him and you're like, "Oh, am I in your way? Let me move."
Get the
And
fuck
then
out of the
he
way,
keeps
dog.
Getting in your way.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, "What?" Oh yeah, and just they'll like stop if you're close to them, like the postman and the dog. So you're just like, "Okay, move! I need you to move because you're in my way." And like, you have to get pretty far away from them and wait before they start moving again. But I mean, very small things, quality of life changes would be nice.
Yeah. And then you said the charging, the magic charging thing earlier. I think you mentioned that
having that
earlier.
be quicker.
Yeah.
Just having more buttons for items so you don't have to keep swapping back and forth. It's always nice to have. But yeah, I mean, for its time, I think these are pretty standard problems that
Yeah. It's a 2D Game Boy game.
Yeah. So I mean, it shows its age a little bit, but it's still a very great game.
Still pointing in the
Won't
wrong
have that
direction
problem going
with the
forward
D-pad.
because everything's going to have an X and Y button now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put this on my ranking list just under Link's Awakening.
Oh, okay, good. Hold on, wait. I want to update the list. I was going to ask y'all. Okay, just under Link's Awakening.
Yeah, I think they were both similar kinds of charming, but the extra bit of weirdness and existential horror in Link's Awakening nudged it a little higher for me.
What if we all disappear when the windfish wakes up?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it has Mambo.
But this has Bluebird. Although I guess that also had... Does that...
Yeah, Link's
that one
Awakening
also has Bluebird.
too.
So many Bluebird. Yeah, for me, I think it's tied. I think it's tied with Link's Awakening. Because I agree that it's both. They're both, like, kind of, like, quirky and... They have, like, similar vibes in the dialogue and, like, the way you interact with other characters.
Yeah, it was a little separate from kind of the general, like, big sweeping Legend of Zelda story.
Yep.
What do you think?
See, I don't. Where's my list? I think
Your
I had
your tops are Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Oracles, and then Link's Awakening.
Yeah, I think I'd put it over the Oracles.
So Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, this, and then Oracles.
Yeah, I almost want to tie it with Wind Waker because I really enjoyed this game a lot.
You can do whatever
but
you
I
want.
think
You can
just
tie it with Wind Waker.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that it's a 2D game is a lot shorter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as much to offer as the Wind Waker. Like it's hard to compare 2D Zeldas to 3D Zeldas in that way because there's just a lot. There's just so much more you can do with 3D systems and things like that. It's just and like I have a lot of fond memories with Wind Waker. I've played it several times. but like I really did enjoy this one a lot. I think it's some of the most fun I've had going through these series again. Partially because I haven't played it in so long, so it was pretty brand new to me, even though I remembered a few things here and there. But like I enjoyed it a lot. So it's definitely above the Oracles, maybe tied with Wind Waker.
It was a good game. It was
pretty
cute.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like not that hard. Like I guess a complaint could be that it's short, but I thought it was like it had the right amount of stuff to keep my attention for the time that I wanted to play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that it was a good length, just short.
Yeah.
So
I think it could have been longer without hurting it, but I also think like there's enough stuff to do like in the overworld and between
and
the
I think
dungeons
there
that
was
didn't really feel like it was lacking.
Yeah, and I think because the map was so packed with different quests and side quests and places to explore and things like that, I think if you wanted to make it longer, you could by trying to, get all these different things and do all the kingstones and like, so you could make it longer and keep yourself entertained, I think. But and like it was what 4 or 5 dungeons total.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of
Yeah, I think
Five and a
5 main
half.
dungeons and a couple little
like
Yeah.
the
Smaller sections.
crypt is kind of a dungeon, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
It has the 4 elements, the 4 element dungeons, and then like
and
Dark
the
Hyrule Castle.
Yeah.
So that's 5, and then there's like a couple places that kind of like I think you add them all up together and it makes 6, and then you have all the like overworld.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not long, but yeah. But it was like It's like with Link to the Past, it was like I have to go to another dungeon, like at some point, and I never felt like that while playing this game.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't finish, but it's definitely one that I will finish. I'll finish this in Majora's Mask later when we are done with the series and I have time to play more than one game at a time. Because that's we're going to play Twilight Princess
I think
and
the
I'm scared.
games really, yeah. I think the games really benefit when there's stuff to do between the dungeons, because otherwise you're just like, God, I'm just going right into another dungeon. Kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like when you get shuffled around from place to place, like where it's like, okay, you go to this room and fight these people. Now you got to go immediately to the boss, and now you have to immediately, you fight the boss like 5 times or whatever. It's like, especially the end sequence is always like that. But this one, this one seemed long, but it didn't seem that bad. It seemed like, and then this game. Oh, we didn't talk about this, but this game has extra content. Like you can continue to play it after you finish, and then you can like 100% it after you beat Vaati, which is really funny to me. Yeah, you can go get some other items and stuff after you fight him. And I think like one of the items is like, if you're getting all the figurines, you can get Vaati's figurine afterward and stuff like that too. So there's a couple items you can get after.
Yeah, the figurine carving dude back again, except now he runs like a gacha machine instead.
Yeah. And you exchange shells, and there were shells in other games, but like this game is, I don't know, you just find random shells and you can exchange them for figurines.
Yeah, I found it less engaging than the version in Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Like the figurines themselves were kind of fun and like reading the details, but like you're just putting money into a machine and then you have to like talk to him for each one and choose for each one and then go and pull the thing for each one.
You don't like a gacha machine? It seemed like a lot. I definitely skipped parts of the playthrough that I was watching where it was like, oh, you're just gonna do figurines for 10 minutes.
If you could just go right into the machine like immediately, like just keep pulling for figurines. But the fact that you had to go back and talk to him and pick how many, and then go over and manually pull the lever on the machine each time was kind of tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had less of the like direct exploration and reward kind of thing of Wind Waker, where you have to take the pictures.
Right. You just find the shells and then you go there and exchange them. It's not the same. Yeah, it was fun and it was cute. I liked being small.
Yeah.
Oh, and I liked Eslo and all his sass.
Yeah.
Like having a sassy hat companion. That was pretty good. Instead of like a Tsundere fairy, like in Majora's Mask. You just have a grouchy hat. Okay. Well, that's good. It was good. What's my sign off? Hold on, I closed my I lost my notes.
Zelda has some weird companion character.
Well, my favorite so far was Moosh. I guess that's technically a mount, not a companion, but they talk to you, so they're kind of a companion. I don't know. Is it a companion if you have dialogue, or is it a mount? Like, Epona never talks to you.
I think they have to be there to provide advice.
That's
for
true.
the whole game. Like, you have to have a button where you can go, hey, tell me what to do.
Yeah. Hat, tell me what to do.
Heard.
Hey, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey.
So you got Navi and Tattle, and I guess the King of Red Lions, Eslo.
Are there others in Midna?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think so far. Midna.
Fi.
Fee.
Yeah, Fi.
Fi.
You got another fairy kind of companion in a Phantom Hourglass.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is Zelda one of them?
And then, yeah, I think you have Ghost Zelda in Spirit Tracks.
Zelda. That's good. Something to look
I feel like
forward to.
Linebeck's kind of a companion character, even though he doesn't have a dedicated advice button because you wouldn't want to listen to his advice. But
He's
he
a
kind of serves
companion.
that role still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think like Medley and Mecha are your companions? They don't really give you advice. In fact, you have to carry them around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really your baggage, I feel like.
Yeah.
Does that make you their companion?
Because you're telling them what to
Because
do.
on their quest, they just have to do the one
That's
dungeon,
true.
and you're with them that entire time.
True. Are you having an existential crisis?
They go, Link, what do I do?
Link.
And then you help them solve the puzzle.
Yeah, and you throw them at stuff, and
Yeah.
you possess
Sacrifice
them.
Medley to the floor masters.
She's fine. Everything's fine. What are you talking about? And they definitely don't stay there forever. Like, they don't turn into ghosts like in
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time. It's like, disturbing but fun. Okay, well, it looks like it's time for the time for us to part has come. That's my quote of the day that I used for signing off. Join us February 1st for Twilight Princess.
Yay.
Join us for woos.
For wolves. And for the darkness. And for so much bloom in all the glow. Which I think is part of the aesthetic, I guess.
Remember the early gameplay footage had it just black and white in the Twilight Zone, so
Oh, really? I should look for an old...
I think the bloom is better.
The bloom is cool. I like the Twilight. I like the Twilight
Yeah.
look. I like the music. The Twilight beasts are horrifying, but I think that's the point. I like being a wolf. I like that everything glows. Those are my comments about Twilight Princess from the part that I played. Xantus for
Yeah, I'm excited to play it again. It's been a while since I have. I feel a lot of nostalgia for it just because it's one of the ones that was like actively following like updates for before it came out.
Yeah.
Like Wind Waker's the first one I played, and it's just like I saw like a magazine article on Nintendo Power and was like, that looks cool, and then played it. Like I didn't really follow any of the like development or rumor cycle beforehand.
I don't think I followed any of the rumor cycle until Breath of the Wild, but like really leaning into Breath of the Wild 2,
Yeah.
or aka Tears of the Kingdom. Or I guess say KA, Tears of the Kingdom, known as Tears of the Kingdom. Twilight Princess I played a little bit of before on the Wii. And then I tried playing Twilight Princess HD and it was like it's flipped, which was really confusing for me at the time. I'm not sure if I was thinking about playing the Wii because I want to do the sword fighting. Because like, what's the point? But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's been long enough that the flip won't disturb me anymore.
I hope so, because I was thinking
Less
of
than
playing
Link
the
is
Wii
left-handed.
too.
So.
Right, as it should be. It'll be dark, but in a good way.
Yeah, it'll be moderately dark because it's just Twilight.
Yeah, right. It'll be somewhere between darkness and lightness.
Yeah.
It's not going to be dark till Tears of the Kingdom. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Did you say night? Or did you say all right?
Yeah, I said, all right, bye.
I was like, oh, he's wishing our listeners good night. Anyway, bye, I guess.
99.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sleep
Sleep
tight.
well.
Good night, those of you listening at 9 a.m.
Don't worry about the Twilight. So yeah, pour one out for game, quote unquote game.
It's okay, because our parents will still refer to every handheld game as a
It's
Game
a
Boy.
Game Boy. I mean, I'm down. They should have just called it the Game Boy DS. Why
Yeah,
didn't
They
I
should have called it the
that?
Game Boys.
Like with a Z, because
Yes.
it would have been like the 2000. It was like 2001. Or no, sorry, what did I say? 2004? Yeah, 2004 or 5.
2 games, 2
Yeah,
boys.
they should have done that. And also the DS, like one of the most popular early games was like Nintendogs, so you could have had whole branding around that. You know, listen, Nintendo, we're out here.
Go back in time, dude.
But then what would they have called the Wii? It would have to be the, like... I almost said Wii Boy, and then I was like, wait, I can't do that.
Remember its like code name was the Revolution.
I mean, I still haven't researched if the Kinect came out after the Wii remotes did, but it kind of was. So I don't know, but it is funny. It was revolutionary for Nintendo because they didn't use
GameCube was the
cartridges.
Dolphin for some reason.
I thought the actual like component, like motherboard, was called the Dolphin or something too. So I think it had to do with that, but I could be wrong.
Makes sense. Of course, then it's like, why was that called the Dolphin?
I don't know. I mean, it's like all the Intel chips are like, the old ones at least are like Ivy Bridge, Sandy Bridge, and it's like, what does sand have to do with the processor? But I guess they get tired of like naming
Like the
architectures
phone ones
after
that are all
just
named
like
after like candy.
Candy. Yeah, the
Lollipop.
Android versions. Do they still do that, or are they just calling it
I
like
don't know if
Android
they used
10
to be.
bajillion now? I know, because any people would be like, "Oh, I upgraded to Lollipop," but then be like, "Oh, mine's still on Gingerbread or whatever." It was like pretty good code names. All the Mac OS versions are named after things in California now. It's just pretty boring. There was like El Capitan. I think the new one is Ventura. Whatever. It's like, okay, Apple, we get it. You want to brand yourself like you're not built in China. I understand. She said, recording on a iMac or like an Apple laptop on her looking at her iPhone. Anyway, whatever. I'm done being cynical about technology. Let's talk about Minish Cap. Tell us the story about what happened in Minish Cap.
Well, Minish Cap is the origin story of Link's hat.
Whoa!
So naturally, we begin with the legend of a previous hatless hero with rather luscious hair who
He's good looking.
He has some serious hair going on.
Yeah.
It's very Legolasy.
His whole vibe is very Legolasy. Is it Legolasy or Legolasy?
You've seen that meme, the legless Lego Legolas. No? Have you?
No.
Oh,
but I understand. Is this all like, how do you somehow like know by Inception that I love Legolas, or like is this unrelated?
I don't remember if this is the final version.
Are you watching Lord of the Rings recently or something, or are you just seeing inside my mind? I don't know.
Where is it? How do I send this to you? Chat. No, chat was open. Everyone, send.
They make like a Galadriel elf, like Lego. Of course they do. Oh, that's good. It was the operating system was called Dolphin, by the way.
Operating system. Okay, that makes
for
sense.
GameCube.
I literally didn't even get through my first sentence. So.
Sorry.
Here, going through the little like Toys R Us catalog, circling things.
Bikes.
I was briefly obsessed with like all the like robot toys they had for a while.
Where it's like you put it together and it does the stuff, or like
like remote control, like whatever's. Like I had a remote control T-Rex and a remote control spider robot, and
I had a remote control helicopter that caused him flew into my fireplace.
Oh,
it still worked after that. It's almost like the toy designers knew that someone would fly it into a fireplace.
And then we put the fire grate up.
Yeah. I don't think they even had that. I think we were just like, don't fly into the fireplace again. Cause them. I think that was what happened. And then like the next year, this little remote helicopter control substantially improved and nobody ever flew into the fireplace ever again. Mm-hmm. To be fair, they were very difficult to control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, to be fair, cause them.
I remember like launching them off of people in your house. Like set it on people's backs when they were like lying on the couch.
Just watching various people, young and old, struggling to fly them around. It was a good time. Now all the children probably get drones for Christmas or whatever. I don't even know, like...
Yeah.
I remember sometime when I was like an older teenager, I was like looking at a like Toys R Us ad, and they had this like ride-on like remote control dinosaur or something, and I was like, I would have wanted that so badly.
It's remote controlled and you ride on it, so someone else controls it while
some
you
kind
ride
of
on
robot
it?
thing. I mean, it had like
It's a ride-on dinosaur.
Yeah,
It's like they took those little cars, you know, like the little Jeeps, and then they turned it into a dinosaur.
yeah, basically.
Wow.
Because I never cared about those little like ride-on cars, but
Yeah.
if they'd had a
wanted a ride-on
dinosaur,
car.
I would have wanted that so bad.
I kind of wanted a little car, but I liked anything that had like wheels. We had little pedal-driven cars, like you sat on a little seat and you pedaled it with your feet, and those were fun. I liked those a lot as a child.
I wanted there to be like a grown-up size sit and spin. Because I used to
I bet
really
if
like
you
those as a
Google that,
kid.
there's probably a YouTube video somebody made.